Okay, so now that we got a gist of what an equity invoice contract is and who it benefits and the pains and the needs in the industry that it solves, we're going to look how to take that and how to target specifically who this benefits the most. We target that starving customer and that starving client in the industry, they'll pick it up and use it without you ever even having to tell them what it is. So first, we're going to look at who that end client is. That end client is the homeowner. The person that has to sign the authority of the equity or give their equity away has to be the end client. Now again, we went through the many different industries in the game and how they are connected to this more than just that homeowner. But everyone has to worry about that homeowner because they're the end person that's going to sign away their equity and get this ball rolling of using this contract for the industry. So we're going to target down exactly what homeowner that is. There's many different type of homeowners out there. We got investors, we got primary long life homeowners, we got vacation homeowners, we got long-term rental homeowners, commercial homeowners, we got homeowners that aren't even homeowners, we got squatters. Homeownership comes in a lot of different forms. I mean, renting is a sort of form of homeownership. This again can help renters too if they have got issues in their apartment and whatnot and they need it fixed, yet the homeowner is not wanting to fix it because they don't got the cash. A renter can go find a contractor that does these equity invoice contractors and solve that landlord's issue for them. And also getting a renovated property while they're living in it. So let's look at this. A homeowner that has equity is our ideal client. If they do not have equity, equity being the difference between the value of their property and the current debt that's on it, if they have nothing owed, they have 100% equity in their property. If they have 90,000 of 100,000 of debt on their property, they only have 10%, $10,000 worth of equity in their property. Pretty simple and pretty clear. You get it on the business aspect and they'll start talking about equity on liabilities and responsibilities and that kind of aspect. We're just looking at the numbers for the equity definition of this. So any client that currently has equity, and then we get on the investor side of these equity invoice contracts aren't valued at the value of before renovations are done. They're valued after the renovations are done. So if I'm putting a $10,000 upgrade into my property, that's gonna boost it up an extra $50,000. Obviously, I don't want to take my $100,000 property value. I want to use the $150,000 property value after the renovations are done. Because I know as soon as that construction is done, that's the value of the house. The house is $150,000. So we look at the picture of it after it's done. This is where you can leverage past your point of your current equity. So even if you don't even have cash, and even if you don't even have the equity in your property, there's still a chance for homeowners to have future equity that they can use right now to pay for renovations. We want to keep this to a minimum. We want to first target the ideal client that already has the equity. And then we can branch out when which we feel more secure about our values of our market, when we're more secure about the underwriting and how to structure an equity invoice contract with the perfect contractor and the perfect client of a homeowner. That's again not going to happen every time. Don't jump in head first into the pond when you don't know how deep the pond is. Dip your foot into it, get into it, and start rolling with it. You're going to eventually come up a hiccup and a problem. NAR did many times, and many real estate agents did many times. Wealth Tradie will many times, and these contracts will many times. Again, this is why I'm cautioning you to dip your toes into it. This is a legal structured, documented, drafted with attorneys, drafted with professionals in the industries, in multiple industries to bring this to you to make sure that we can build this industry to a sustainable future. Currently, it's not sustainable. There's little cracks in it that people are exploiting in the industry. So how do we target these homeowners that have equity? We do this through software. Software is the advanced, easier, faster investor, high-speed tech secret. I'm going to show you the fundamental basics. If you don't have the software, you can fault back to the basics, public records. That's all the software does. The software pulls all the public records it can and gives it to you on one platform. That's the value of the software. Without it, you got to go old school. You got to go on the 3 or 4 different sites and find the information, pull the data yourself. I'm going to show you how to do that and show you the software too that you can use to expedite your problem. Again, this is for the contractors just starting out, and these are for the advanced skilled level contractors that are already investors. I brought in everyone because this market and this game isn't for just one person and one client or one industry. It's for everyone that wants to play the real estate game. There should be another video somewhere in this course that shows you exactly how to use that software, and it breaks down exactly how to find the value of a property, how to find the debts on a property, and then you'll find the equity. And then we'll go into the details of the pros and cons of that software and its limitations. Don't trust the software, trust yourself. Now, for a second, I'm going to talk to more advanced level of targeting. So if you're just getting into equity, just getting into comps and value, this may be a little bit over your head. So just take a pause here, just digest it at least, and then once you get in your foot, make sure you come back to this section because it's very, very valuable about how I'm going to teach you when you become the investor identity and fully believe that you're the investor through experience. You're going to want to use these strategies and these tactics to boost that leverage on that contract. So we look at blended financing. What's this mean? Later on, equity contracts will have different versions, just how purchase contracts have different versions and they're tailored to the different states and everything. Currently, we do not have the manpower to do that. Currently, we have generically done it like generic mortgage and loan company and have standardize it per the national, even the non-disclosure states. But if you're advanced enough, you can still use the current contract to these advanced skills of blended financing. Blended financing just means, hey, instead of me taking this single project of a property, I'm going to now either take 2 or 3 different properties and use the equity in those 2 or 3 different properties, meaning that my equity invoice contract isn't going to get just recorded on one property. It's going to get recorded on 3 different properties, 3 different deeds. And then that ties me to that equity. So if a homeowner has equity not in one property, but he has 50% equity or 100% equity in another property, but he wants work done on this property, property A, he can now pull property B's equity, tie it, but the work get done on his property A. Blending his portfolio and liquefying his assets instead of worrying that, hey, I can only have this work done on this property A because it only has this much equity. No. Hey, you can now pull someone's portfolio, look at their portfolio's equity, and say, hey, I can unlock that portfolio's equity for you on all of this construction wherever you need it. Now, once you're familiar with this concept and you start implementing, you'll see the staggerization of it. As a contractor, if I'm using these for investors or homeowners that have these different portfolios, I can now stagger my investment, my money or my money on the material aspect and my labor on the labor aspect, or money on the labor aspect if I have a crew that I need to make sure I'm paying and they're not going to get tied into it. I can now stagger my investments. I can stagger it, hey, this property renovation is a 6-month project and he's selling it on the 8th month mark. Hey, this property is a month turnaround time. Hey, this property is a 1.5 year turnaround time. I can now stagger my investments to where I can now do my finances. Instead of my finances being in cash, my finances are in equity. Hey, this equity should be getting paid out on this date. That equity should get paid on that date. This equity gets paid on this date. And now if you're smart and you're working with your tax and your accountants, you'll see where you need that stagger. You'll see, hey, I need 30, 40K, not in this year, but the next year. You'll see how you can work with people and that equity to say, hey, if you don't want to sell your property and you don't want to pay me back, can we extend this equity invoice contract to next year? to where you're not selling your property, or you're not paying me off this equity invoice contract until my next year, to where I can collect it on those taxes, where I'm not getting hit with an extra 10%. And then we get into later on the tax incentives of all this, but that'll be last. From here, once we've targeted our clientele that either has equity in one property or multiple properties, we could then begin to start networking. We can network with those homeowners and telling them, hey, I can liquefy your equity for you and do your work for you without any banks involved. No credit checks, no big company underwriting regulations that they have to standardize because they're doing it to the masses. I'm not doing it to the masses as a contractor. I'm doing it as a one-on-one relationship with the client. I don't have to worry about my underwriting guidelines to be hitting every other little pest in the system that's trying to break the cracks in the system. This is a one-on-one relationship system. There's no third-party middleman that can contaminate the system. So in this lesson, we went over who the ideal client is as a homeowner, one with equity, how equity invoice contractors can not only just target those guys, but advancedly target investors that have multiple properties. And somewhere in here, there's a link to specifically how to target them on the software and the specific details to look for on public records to target that equity. So before you hop on to the next lesson, make sure you get onto that software, because it not only goes over the software, but it goes over the fundamentals of where that software pulls its information. And those are the fundamentals that you need to find the homeowners with the right equity so that you can get into their properties and start doing the renovations that they never knew that you could do.